Hello Year 10. Right, now during this flipped learning session, this video, we're going to take a look at the role of women in Nazi Germany, and as part of our key question, how effectively did the Nazis control the lives of women, I'm going to talk you through a propaganda poster that you will have seen in Year 9, just to give you that base contextual knowledge for us to move on and apply what we know to a different propaganda poster in a forthcoming lesson. Okay, so first of all, on the screen at the moment is a cross of German motherhood. Now, this was a medal that was awarded to women in Nazi Germany. There were a bronze, and there was a silver, and there was a gold medal available for women who'd had 4 or 6 or 8 children respectively. Now, your teacher will show you one of these during the lesson. You might think it was odd for women to achieve medals for having babies, but that should give you a clue as to how important the Nazis and Hitler thought that having babies was to their Nazi regime. So the more children you had, the higher classification of medal you received. Along with that, of course, women were expected to stay at home to look after these babies. The more babies they had, the less of their marriage loan they would have to pay back that they were given when they got married. And of course, if they were staying at home to look after the children, then they shouldn't, or indeed couldn't, be going out to work. And the Nazis did all this deliberately in order to try and increase the birth rate. Now remember, in Weimar Germany, women had had a certain amount of independence, and in many ways it was quite an egalitarian, quite an equal society, certainly compared to other European countries at the time. And women had had jobs as doctors and teachers, amongst other things, and the birth rate had been declining. There had been fewer and fewer babies being born. Now, Hitler knew that ultimately, if he was going to reverse the Treaty of Versailles and build his 1,000-year empire or 1,000-year Reich, that he would need to go to war to do this. And of course, war requires soldiers. And as lives are inevitably lost, more soldiers are required. So it's very important to Hitler and the Nazis to reverse this decline in the birth rate and encourage women to have more and more children. The boys could grow up and become soldiers, and the women could provide more children still. And having looked already at the way that children were treated in Nazi Germany, you'll have an idea as to how the Nazis drilled that in, sort of brainwashed the children from a very early age that was their roles when they grew up. Okay, so if the Nazis had this very set idea that women should stay at home, should have as many children as possible, and should care for them and look after their husbands, then they were going to have to use propaganda, as well as the medals, as well as the Cross of German Motherhood on the screen, as well as the marriage loans. They were going to have to use propaganda to try and encourage women to think in the same way as the Nazis thought. Now, on the screen is an example or an interpretation of a poster that you will have seen in Year 9. And I wonder, what does this tell us about the Nazis' view of women? Have a look at it. You see the title at the bottom. If your German's any good, that might give you a clue. It's a famous Nazi propaganda poster called Mutter und Kind. Okay, I wonder if you can work out what that means. What I suggest you do now is pause the video and take a few minutes just to look at the poster, to begin to analyse it, to break it down. What can you see, first of all? And then what message is that giving? How is it encouraging women to do what the Nazis wanted? You might want to scribble down some notes in your book and then come back to the video, unpause it, and we shall continue going through it. And I'll give you some guidance. You can see whether you were right and get some support if you were stuck. Okay, take a couple of minutes. Okay, so we've unpaused the video, and now I'm going to take you through the poster. Let's see whether you spotted the messages in the propaganda. And if you didn't, this will give you some help and some guidance ahead of next lesson. Okay, so first thing I notice about the poster It reminds us to always look at the background as well as the foreground. Look at the sun behind the woman's head. And I'm asking the question, why is the sun positioned here? What do you think the significance of that is? What impression is the sun giving by it being placed behind the woman's head? Have you seen that sort of imagery elsewhere, perhaps worth thinking about religious images or maybe in religious texts or religious buildings even? What message are the Nazis trying to give? Okay, look at the woman's hair next. What's the importance of her hair? Not so much the colour, but look at the way in which it's tied up. Look at the style in which it's being worn. Why has she got her hair in that style? Of course, the baby is central to the picture. But what's the significance of the baby? Why is the baby such a central feature? What is the importance, if you prefer, of that baby? And look in the background as well. What's in the background, both left and right of the woman? If we look over here on the left, what can you see happening in the background? Who do you think this is here? What's his relationship to the woman? What's he doing? And here, what's happening in the background here? I wonder if you can remember the 3 Ks that women were expected to live by. Worth looking them up. We shall revise them in the lesson, but worth looking them up if you don't remember them. Does that give you a clue as to what that is? And look at the woman's body shape as well, and her clothing. What do you notice about her body shape and the way in which she is dressed? Okay. Now, if you can answer those questions, then you're beginning to analyse that poster, and you'll understand the reason the Nazis published it. Okay, and that's a typical exam question right there, perhaps a 6-marker. Why did the Nazis publish this poster? If you can answer some of those questions, you're well on the way. Let's have a look then. So, here's the poster. What kind of society does it suggest the Nazis wished to create? Okay, what sort of message is it giving? Well, we talked about the sun behind the woman's head. The mother, it could be said, looks holy because of the sun behind her head, like a halo you might find behind an angel. She's fulfilling her role by nursing her baby, and that's central to her. She's nursing her baby, feeding her baby. Look at the way she's focused on the baby. It's her sole focus. One of the 3 Ks, church, is in the background. Okay, can you remember the other 2? And the other side is her husband, who is at work in the fields. Okay, he's out to work, her focus is the baby. She is curvy, and what the Nazis would have considered womanly. Dieting, remember, was discouraged, and women were expected to dress traditionally and fulfill their roles as mothers. Her hair as well, whilst we're on her appearance, look at the way it is tied up at the back. She's not left it long and flowing, not particularly fashionable, but then fashion wasn't the focus of the Nazis. Her hair is tied up so she can do her domestic chores, washing, cooking, cleaning. Think of food lessons when if you've got long hair, male or female, you're asked to tie your hair up. Okay, she would have done the same so that she can work in the home. Now, if you've remembered that video, if you remember that poster, and if this video has helped you to revise that poster, then in the lesson, when you will be asked to look at this one, okay, you'll have that contextual knowledge, that background knowledge to be able to apply what you already know to work out this poster. This is a different poster, okay, but again, it's aimed at women. It may also be aimed at other members of the family. It's a different source, but the message is not completely different. So what I'd like you to do ahead of the lesson, think of 3 questions you'd like to ask about this poster. Okay, maybe you've already got some ideas as to what it is suggesting to us. Maybe you've already got some ideas as to why it was published. Okay, it would be great to hear them next time. Until then, you are free to rewind this video and watch it again, and I look forward to seeing you next time.